So this is, what room is this? This is your...
This is the cosplay craft room / guest bedroom.
Cosplay craft room / okay, that's really too long. You need a shorter name. Craft room sounds, just room.
Craft room, yeah. Yeah, we have tons of things in here, and I'm still trying to put it all together.
And you're still unpacking all this stuff?
Still unpacking, yeah. But it's been cool. It's been fun.
Ooh, 2007.
Yeah, that's
Anime Boston.
2007. I
AB.
have my other awards every year. Got these two from 2008, and then this one from 2009.
2008.
2008. That was for my Chocobo costume that I did.
Yeah, I saw it online on your website. It's 2009.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so my name is Jeanette. I go by Chinako in the cosplay realm. I started back in '98. My first convention was Arisia in Boston, which is a sci-fi convention. And I only knew about cosplay from just reading about it online. I didn't know anything about it. I just saw people had dressed up in costume for conventions and thought it was kind of cool. So my first convention at Arisia, I dressed up as Renoa from Final Fantasy VIII. It was really tossed together, like my sewing skills minimal, you know, and it was a lot of fun. It was cool.
So how was conventions? I mean, I know the sci-fi convention, so it was slightly different. But how was conventions back then in the '90s?
They were attended. That one especially is attended by a lot of older generation, and I think it probably harkens back to the sci-fi concept, because I know Dragon Con also is attended really well by older generations, not so much young kids.
Right.
So it was different for me to be, you know, dressed up in costume and not feeling silly around a bunch of adults that were interested in sort of similar things.
Were there a lot of people dressed up at the sci-fi con back then?
Yeah, but they were dressed up differently. There's stormtroopers.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's pretty common. Lots of people in medieval dress.
Yeah,
which I thought
Ren
was
Fair
interesting.
type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen that before either, so I just thought that was really neat, and I didn't realize how far out you could expand just, you know, costuming. If you just say, you know, dress up in costume, people are going to come in all types of things. So it was really kind of cool.
Let's talk about costumes real quick, because I know some people, there's costuming and cosplay. What are your feelings on the terminology?
I think they sort of go hand in hand. I don't think there's any, you know, I mean, if you're dressing in cosplay, then you are having a lot of fun while in costume and possibly role-playing slightly as the character that you're dressed as. And then you have the costume aspect, which I think is probably more of maybe you're just in costume, but you don't, you know, if it's something that you put a lot of dedication, hard work into, and you don't want it to get dirty or ruined or touched or anything, like that would be more, you know, I'm in costume, I'm just going to stand here and look nice, as opposed to I'm going to interact with everybody I see because I want to, you know, be out there and playing around and having fun.
So since you did start in '98, so you've been around for a while, do you actually go to, you know, there's actually costume-oriented conventions like Costume Con, Costume College. Have you actually gone to any of those?
I haven't gone to those, no.
Because I've never been there myself, but I understand that, you know, the panel discussion, actually everything gears towards costuming. It isn't just, you know, whatever anime or manga, whatever, it's just all costuming, you know.
That would be cool. That would be different.
So, after that, so what was your first anime convention then?
Anime Boston 2003.
2003?
Yep,
okay.
in Boston, Massachusetts, yeah.
How was that? Wait, okay, I'm a little fuzzy on the time frame. Did they start in 2002 or 2003? Was it their first?
They started in 2003, yes.
So you went to their first one.
It was at the Park Plaza Hotel, the same place that Arisia takes place, and it was small, or I'd say probably like maybe 2,000 people or something like that. But it was really interesting, totally different. I wanted to go because I was really into the anime scene, and I had grown up with Toonami and Cartoon Network and finally understood that, you know, oh, Sailor Moon, that's not American made, it's Japanese. So what else have I seen that's Japanese? Oh, Thundercats. Oh, you know, it opened up this whole window for me of things I had seen and didn't know what it was. I just thought it was some really cool cartoon. Which anime really is, very cool cartoons, but, you know, I had no idea that there was a whole genre dedicated to that type of style. And then when Anime Boston came around, I just had to go. I was like, I have to see. Like, I'm in the know. I know all these things that are out there. What else is out there? Like, what am I missing on? I have to go and check it out. And I didn't go in costume.
Oh,
and I felt awful.
You felt awful?
I felt alienated.
Were there a lot of people dressed up at that?
You know,
No?
I think it was probably split 50-50. But all the people I saw in costume, I was like instantly attracted to. I was like, oh, like that is so cool. Like people I didn't even know what series they were from. And I was just, wow, I have to do that next year. Like I felt like almost bad that I hadn't dressed up.
Actually, I hear that kind of. Yeah. I've heard stories like that from other people too. But when was the latest Anime Boston you went to?
I was supposed to go this year, but I couldn't. So last year. 2000 was that? 11. Yeah.
So between 2011 and 2003, besides the size of getting bigger and bigger, did you notice any changes in?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. Definitely changes in costume. A lot more people do it now. And it spans a broader span of not just anime. Now it's, you know, manga. Now it's old school stuff, new school stuff, everything mixed in. And the dedication to the costumes has really improved as well. Like I've noticed it's gone from really simple, like, hey, I'm Ash from Pokemon, to extremely elaborate takes on characters. Maybe, you know, a lot more hand beating, like, you know, blood, sweat, and tears into the costumes as opposed to, oh, I just bought it off eBay.
Yeah. So when did you start? I mean, back in 2003, you can't really buy costumes, could you?
Nope.
You really had to kind of make it yourself.
Make them by hand, yeah. And I talked to a lot of people at the convention because I wanted to learn more about who they were and, you know, how they made their stuff. And a lot of people, I remember, said, you know, oh, I had my mom help me, my grandma helped me. So I think, you know, it was that understanding of, well, you can't buy it. You need to make it yourself. So who can you go to that can help you and teach you? And, you know, how can you learn how to do it?
Mom, grandma, so forth. When you started in cosplay, were you good sewing? Were you good with your hands? Or
yeah, I would say I've always liked to craft. So I would say I had that step up. And also when I went to middle school, we actually had home economics class, which they no longer offer in a lot of schools.
Really?
And yeah, and so I learned how to use the sewing machine there. My grandmother sews a lot, and I have a lot of fabric I've inherited from her, as well as sewing machines, which has been awesome. And so I learned a lot of tools from her, and my mom can't sew to save her life. She can't even sew a button. So it's been a lot of like, you know, I'll be in my room sewing, come downstairs and show my mom, and my mom would be like blown away. Wow, how did you know to do that? And a lot of times I don't know how I know. It's just been a lot of trial and error. Like, you know, oh, here's, you know, I want to make this shirt. Well, let's take a real shirt. Let's see how a real shirt's made. Like, flip it inside out, check the seams, you know. How can I mimic that onto a piece of fabric to get it to be a shirt that fits?
It sounds like a lot of trial and error. So for some of your outfits in the beginning, did you have to kind of redo parts over and because to get okay?
Yep, always. And I still do it. I mean, there still be costumes that I make now that, you know, it comes out and it's not quite how I want it to look, or I'm not satisfied with how the seams line up, and I'll just take it apart and start over from scratch.
And then restart from scratch again. You know. So.
Kids.
Kids. So, okay, some more. Have you? What do you? This is one question I always ask about cosplayers. And once you've been doing it for a while, do you keep your from the first few that you've done? Have you kept it around still?
I keep them. Yeah.
You still have? Okay.
I have them all. They're in totes out in the garage right now, but I have them all.
Okay.
And a lot of people have asked me, like, well, why don't you just sell them? It's obvious you're not going to wear them anymore, you know, but I can't. They're my babies. They're my first
historic,
creation.
yeah.
And I look at them now and I'm like, wow, like, this is bad. Like, I could do this so much better now. And some of them I might redo, but it's just, you know, the fact that at that point, that was the best I could do.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to give that up.
No,
I feel like it's such a great progression to look at, you know, from back in 2003 all the way up to now. 98, all the way up to now.
I guess I should ask you if you could talk to yourself when you were younger, around 2003. Any advice to how to craft, how to actually sew better, how to you know, manage this better?
Maybe get a mannequin sooner. That's a huge help. At the time, it was a lot of like sewing, pretty much just in underwear, because you would sew something together, try it on. Does it fit? No. Take it off. Sew it better way. Try it on. So a lot of like wasted time, I think, doing that. It's more time efficient to have a mannequin or some type of dress form that you can drape fabric on and then cut and pin, because then you can just run it through the machine. You know it's going to fit the first time.
Ah, when did you get your first one?
This one I actually got probably 2 years ago.
Is that your first one?
Yeah, my first one. It's been a long, but ever since I've gotten it, it's just been like, oh, why didn't I do this sooner? You know? And yeah, they're not cheap. They're a lot of money, so that could be why a lot of people don't have them right off the bat. But if you can get one, if you can afford one, do it.
eBay? Is this something you can find on eBay?
Probably on eBay, yeah. Yeah, I got this one right from Joann's. I love Joann's fabric, so I'm always there. So I just get this one offline from them.
I guess the next question I should ask you, where do you find your fabrics and what you need? I mean, you're here in Round Rock, Texas.
I'm in Texas, yeah. Usually I go to Joann Fabrics. I love their store because they have a really good selection of fabrics. I recently found Hancock Fabrics, which also has a lot of really good fabrics. And the prices are pretty compatible, so I like that. And then Michael's and Hobby Lobby for craft supplies.
Yeah.
Not so much for fabrics, but definitely craft supplies. So anything that you need, you know, craft foam or felt, like that's the place to go because they usually have the cheaper deals.
Now, some of the bigger cities actually do have like a garment district, fashion district, or something like that. Obviously, Austin's a much smaller city, so I'm assuming, do they have select stores in Austin? Would you go to find one of a kind type?
I haven't really explored that yet.
Okay.
So I mean, I've only been here for a year, but hopefully, I mean, if they do, I'm definitely gonna start hitting that up.
Okay.
And I'm sure they probably do. I think it's more, Austin's more into the music scene than the fabric scene, so I feel like they may not have that, but you never know.
Now, so you moved from the Massachusetts area.
Yeah.
So when you were up there, like, where did you go to? The same thing.
Same
Joann's.
thing. Joann's, Michael's. There was a place called the Fabric Place, which was really great. It was very close to my house, so that's where I would go all the time. And then also in Boston, they have a really small selection of fabric stores in Chinatown, so I would go there and get all the fabric there. And that was cool too, because they had different styles of fabric, from furs and really oriental styles. It was just really cool. So yeah.
So what was it about cosplay that really kept you in it? Like, what was it that kind of like you want to do it continuously? You know.
The crafting aspect, definitely.
The crafting aspect.
Yeah, I like to try new things, and I'm always working with my hands. So I feel like, you know, if there's a design I want to try or a character that I really love, and I just want to pay homage to that character, the best way to do it is for me to just dress up like them.
Okay.
You know.
Now, how do you find out? So for every so let's say you want to do a new outfit, but you may have to learn how to sew or use a new type of fabric or a new technique or something. How do you find out? Like, how do you know how to continue? How do you learn to work with that material? I mean, do you go to tutorials online? Do you?
I've done tutorials online. YouTube has been huge in helping how to like make things, because you can see it. I'm really visual, so if I can't see it, how it's done, if you just give me directions on a piece of paper, chances are I'm not really going to get it. But if you can show me how to do it, I'm there. So YouTube has been great in the aspect that I learned how to do like circle skirts and like, you know, all the math for that stuff. Like how to cut, how to fold, how to make sure that that's done. Princess stitching, different types of stitches using sewing machines, like that's all YouTube.
That's all
really,
YouTube.
Yep. So checking YouTube for that stuff has been really great. And then also when I get new fabric, I had satin that I never sewed with before, like just cutting small snippets out and just putting it through the machine and folding it and putting it through the machine again.
Just trying. Okay.
Trial and error, yeah, with small scrap fabric. So that way you can really see how it pulls. Because certain fabric, once it gets thread in it, it's going to bunch, you know? And then there's other fabric that frays really easy. So how many times you have to roll it to sew it so it doesn't fray if you don't have an edger.
No, that does make sense. So basically, as you've gotten deeper into it, you've got more, I guess you got more equipment, you've gotten more skills in doing this, you know. Back when you started, it was basically AB, Anime Boston. Did you go to other conventions around that area?
Just Anime Boston at first, and then I started going to Connecticut in Connecticut. And then after that, my friends were going to OhioCon, but that was too far for me, so I didn't go to OhioCon. And that was pretty much it. Anime Boston was like my home base. So it was like once a year, I'd work all year in a costume, and that would be where I would present it.
Okay.
Now that I'm in Texas, with family, I find that I can make more costumes and attend more cons. Texas is huge for cons. There's so many cons all over the place.
Do you find it weird? I find it weird that Texas has that many conventions. Yeah. Anime conventions.
It's true, they're everywhere. It's like once a month there's a con going on.
It's somewhere.
It's crazy.
It's actually more than a comic book convention. Like there's a few comic book conventions. Oops.
Oh no.
Oh no, this is your box of buttons?
Box of buttons, yeah. Because you never know when you're going to need buttons for conventions.
So you have a whole bunch of these.
I have lots of buttons.
No.
That's okay.
I hope so. So when you first started, how did your parents react to you wanting to dress up as a character and go to a convention?
You know, at first I think they probably were just like, oh, it's just something for Halloween. You know, it's just something once a year. She'll outgrow it. Or, you know, oh, it's cool. Like, she sort of found her niche. But, you know, whatever. They didn't really give much thought into it. And then I'd probably say it hit them that this was, like, I was really passionate about it in 2007 when I started working on my Chocobo cosplay.
Uh-huh.
Because he was huge, and he took me a year to craft, and I would go right from work, I'd get off the train, and I would go right to my parents' house, because they had more room than my little apartment, so I would spread out there and just go crazy. And my dad tried to help me, and it was crazy. It was this huge undertaking, and everyone was like, that's too ambitious, you're not going to be able to get it done. And I was like, no, I'm getting him done. He will be at Anime Boston in 2008. And I was hard set on it, and they were like, you're crazy. Like, this is just not going to happen. But I did it, I got him done. Put him on Masquerade. We did a whole thing. It was awesome. I won 2 awards, and then immediately after that, I started working on my wedding dress. So yeah, it was crazy. But really, I think that's when it hit them that, you know, this is what she likes to do. Like, so. Really?
Yeah. Did they try to at any time try to persuade you away from it, or they were just like?
My mom, my grandma, definitely, because fabric's expensive. And since she was also a sewer, seamstress, she knew, she was like, I don't think that's a good idea. It's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
But I said, I don't care. Like, I will, you know, find the good deals, get the coupons, go to the store, get stuff when it's on sale, and just make it happen. Oh my goodness.
Oh, buttons everywhere.
Oh well. They weren't really... Well, my friends watched anime. They didn't dress up. So I think they probably thought I was going a little obsessive with the whole thing. But they thought it was cool. Like, they saw my finished products and they were like, oh, that's kind of neat. You know, you look like the character. That's pretty cool. But I don't think they really understood what I was doing. So that was a little different. Now, after going to so many conventions, I've made friends at the conventions. So now I have friends that look at it the same way that I do, where we're like, oh, you know, there's a great deal on this fabric at the store. Quick, go buy it. You know, we can do this costume together. And so now there's even more of a drive for me to do it. Because I have other friends that like to do it too, so.
What about your husband? Is he from the scene? He's not from the scene.
No,
okay.
he likes the anime scene, but he refuses to dress up.
He refuses to dress up. You've already tried.
I've tried. Nope.
That's not what I'm making.
So okay, so he understands completely then what it's from. So he doesn't. Yes. It doesn't bother him that you do this at all.
No. He thinks it probably upsets him more that I'll spend time locked away in a room working than I do interacting with him.
Okay.
But after it's done, he appreciates it.
With, years experience, how do you see cosplay? What are the benefits?
Benefits.
What have you gotten out of it?
Well, I mean, you get to display something that you've worked on really hard to thousands of people. You get a lot of praise for it. Sometimes you get that negative person that's not having a good day. Maybe they just think, oh, I could do that so much better. And, to those people I just say, good, do it. Do it better than me. If you think you can do it, do it. Like, that's my challenge to you. If you think I did a poor job, I want to see you do it better. Go for it,
Go for it.
Because a lot of times people just say that because they're they don't care. They're just not being nice.
Well, at conventions, yeah.
You're going to run into that too. But I like to compete, so a lot of my, praise and joy comes from competing and being recognized for a job well done. So getting awards for little things like design of a certain piece of the costume, design for a prop, or the whole thing as a whole, or performance. I like that aspect of it, being able to really showcase what I've done by moving in it, dancing in it, singing in it, whatever I have to do, just to really show it off. Well, I wasn't outgoing back in the day. I feel like now I am. Now I feel like I know how to present myself so I can be outgoing.
Right.
But I did do drama in high school, but I wasn't ever on stage. I was always doing props. So behind the stage.
Props?
Yep, that was,
Okay.
I was a props mistress. So I was always back there making sure the props were in the right place, that everyone had what they needed. They'd go out on stage and do their thing. I don't think, like, even though I made costumes, it never dawned on me to actually maybe be part of the fashion scene. Like, to actually create the costumes for the characters. And I don't know, for some reason that just never clicked to do that. But I enjoyed being behind the scenes for it all, so.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Look at this. Let's see, what other aspects do you find that's positive about cosplay?
Meeting new friends. You know, it helps people who are shy or not as outgoing to really come out of their shells, because as soon as you walk through that door, whether you're in costume or not, you know everybody at that convention shares a similar interest.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you have something in common with everybody that's in there. So that's really been great too. And then probably positive aspects of cosplay. Really just learning how to better my skills. So, you know, I might make one dress one way and then realize, I can make it this way too and get a similar effect. And so then the next time I make a dress, I'll make it a new way. Really trying to challenge myself and expand my skills. So that's been really positive too.
What's on the flip side, what's the not so great thing about cosplay?
Stuff like
Besides buttons on the ground.
Besides button fighting going on. I would say, guys, calm down. I would say being away from, or being so dedicated and passionate about it, that sort of takes away from family time. So like my husband will be right next door playing video games, and you know I'm over here doing my own thing, making costumes and crafting and stuff. So it's like, even though we're in the same house, we're not together.
You guys can be in the same room. You can play video game in the corner.
Well, we used to do that. I used to actually, this is my first cosplay room, and I used to do it all on the coffee table in the living room. I would just hunch over the coffee table and do it. So that's probably a negative too. For space, small space.
The ones I always hear about is the expense and the time, and also the wear and tear at conventions. Feet.
Yeah. Certain
heels.
shoes, yeah.
Certain shoes.
Some people don't like wigs. I kind of like the wigs. I think the wigs are cool. Like, I have had no wig problems, so that's been good, I guess.
Oh,
So a lot of
okay.
people say, like, you know, oh, I hate wearing wigs. They're so hot. And I've never had that problem, so that's been good.
I actually don't like wearing wigs because they are hot, and they actually itch my scalp a little bit, even though I wear a hairnet.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird.
You know.
I guess I'm just immune to wigs.
Each person has their own thing about it, but you know, I think wigs really help make the costume, especially when this was not, when you started, this was not easily available. You can't buy.
It was nowhere near what it's become today. Like, you couldn't get wigs. I mean, you would go to a local Halloween shop, which was open during Halloween, and buy the really cheap $20, which looks like, you put it on, it looks like you're balding. I mean, it just wasn't great. Now, you can get really high quality wigs off eBay, off Amazon, from China, wherever, and they come and they're beautiful, and they look like real human hair, and they wear and tear really well.
How do you find out like which ones to go to? Because if I were to start in this field, I would be totally confused. There's like wig dealers in the U.S. on eBay. There's tons of it. How do you go about finding a good wig?
Research.
Research?
Lots of research.
Just kind of Google, see what people talk about.
Yep. AC Paradise is great because they actually have a wig section. So if you're looking for a specific character you want to be, you can see what other people have bought for wigs and see if they like the wig, how they rate the wig, where they found it, so you can get a similar style wig or the same one that they have, and then you know what to expect from it. So, you're gonna get raisins too? Okay.
Do I get raisins?
Do you want raisins? Okay, go
So-
shut that door too, okay? Go shut the door.
At some point, did it even occur to you like maybe you could do this in some way, fashion as a living in some way?
Yeah.
Did you entertain that thought back when you were younger?
Yeah, but I don't feel like I could. I mean, you know, I'm a mom, I've got 2 girls, I work a full-time job. I just don't feel like I would have the time to dedicate to creating something on such a high level and so many of it that I could sell it and actually make a profit. So maybe one day I'll get there eventually, but not anytime soon.
Where do you think? Where do you think cosplay is going? Because when it started, when you got into it, it wasn't as I'm going to say it probably wasn't as competitive as today, and the resources weren't as available today. Where do you think this is going? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, you know, I mean, I see a lot more people doing stuff with silicone and creating full mech suits that work and function and all types of stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. It's just keeps going up and up and up. I think as long as technology keeps improving, cosplay will keep evolving. I don't think it's ever going to stop. I
don't think it's going to stop either.
Keep going.
You know, I'm starting to see more people use LED lights, battery-powered things into their into outfits.
Yeah,
and
stuff with music, and yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, that stuff was never even a thought back in the day. Or if it was, nobody had the technology to do it. We didn't have cell phones, you know, it was just like, you'd have to find a payphone to call home, and you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So as technology keeps going and things get smaller, it's so much easier to incorporate them into your costume.
Yeah. Cool beans. Any final thoughts?
I don't know. I really like it. I say if you haven't tried it yet, try it. Like, you should definitely give it a shot. Even if you think it's going to be silly and you're going to look ridiculous, you know. Or you have a group of friends that's like, please, just do this with me. Just give it a shot. Just try it. If you have to have someone else make your costume, you have to buy your costume, do it. But it's just a different experience. It takes you from being a fan at a convention to being part of the community that makes up the convention.
Okay, here's another question. So, besides the sci-fi and anime conventions, do you go to other conventions like comic book games or gaming conventions?
Yeah, I've gone to both. Yeah, I went to PAX East when it first started in Boston, 2011. Yeah, and that was really cool. Totally different. Again, a different group of people attend these conventions. So if you want to try something that's different, maybe with an older crowd or a crowd that's more passionate about a different style, then attend a different type of convention. It really opens your eyes to see what else is out there.
I'm kind of curious because you have a chance to go to different conventions. I've kind of been mostly anime comic books. So how do you see the difference in the different type of fandoms?
Gosh, it's usually like an age group thing. Like, you can tell when you walk into the convention that, you know, you're in a mature setting. And most anime conventions have a huge range of people, of age-wise. And then when you go to a sci-fi convention, it tends to be more of an older crowd. Okay. Comic book conventions tend to be more of an older crowd too, just because there aren't that many young comic book readers these days anymore. Thank you. Great. Raisins. And then at the video game convention, I noticed there was a lot of people that were my age, maybe a little younger, because video games are still in. They're really hot. You know, like that's where a lot of people find their creative outlet, is through a video game. So that's been a totally different experience too.
How does the cosplay scene feel in each different convention? At
a comic book convention, I feel like you're more just, if you're in costume and you're at a comic book convention, you're going to be someone who's going to be asked for pictures a lot. You're not going to be able to move very much because usually those conventions are smaller and more tight-packed, and you're going to have a lot of people that are like, oh, I want my picture with you, you look so great, because you're making one of their characters come to life. At an anime convention, pretty much everybody dresses up, so you're not going to have that one-on-one, I need your picture right now, unless you're very popular in the scene.
Right.
So that way you can move around and still enjoy yourself while in costume. And at a video game convention, I found that there's very few people who dress up. And the people who do dress up, it's almost similar to the comic book scene, where you're going to have that, oh, I've got to get your picture, just stay right there. And then you're stuck in that spot for like a half an hour while people just walk by and take pictures.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Since you have a family and so forth, and I know now I'm older, I have a job and so forth. I find it actually hard for me to keep up with everything because I don't have as much time to dedicate to watching anime or reading manga as much.
Yes.
How do you catch up with everything?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. I mean, look, I'm wearing a Fairy Tail shirt. I started watching this series like probably last year or just before that, and I sort of just haven't finished it. And I'm probably like 40 episodes behind. But you know, a lot of the time I don't know what's in or hot until I see it at a convention. So that's when, you know, like there's a lot of cosplayers from a certain scene that I'll be like, oh, you know, let me look this up. Let me see why this is so popular right now. And so then I'll start watching it or trying to read it.
I admit, that's how I figure out what to watch now. Is basically, oh, hey, that looks interesting. Like, okay, I'm going to go watch it based on what I see out there. You know, because I can't I work so much, I can't give too much time to, unless it's something I really want to follow, you know. And actually, it's kind of weird. I have like a 5-episode rule with anime. If you can't catch me and really, you know, get me going at 5 episodes, then I'm not going to finish the series. Which
cool.
sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, because it's misled me before.
Right,
you know?
right.
So stuff like that. Now, I post pictures of kids sometimes in cosplay on my page, and people go, I wear, you know, dress my kids up like that and so forth. Have you gotten that part yet with your kids where you kind of want to do that?
Oh, yes.
Yes, you do?
Yeah.
Have you taken them to conventions yet?
I did. Actually, both of them came with me to A-Con.
You took them to A-Con?
I took them to A-Con. For one day, we went on Sunday all together as a family, you know, so it wasn't as crazy.
Yeah.
And, I was working at Yaya's booth, Yaya Han's booth, so I was there, and they came, and yeah, they got to meet Yaya, which was cool for them, because, you know, they hear Mommy talking about her all the time, and how cool she is, and,
how do they like the convention? I'm curious, since they're, how old are your kids?
4.5 and 2.
4.5 and 2?
Mm-hmm.
How did they react when they saw all these people dressed up?
Well, the 2-year-old, you know, Kelsey, she's really shy around people.
Oh.
So she was very much like clinging to Mommy the whole time. She didn't really want to be too involved with anything.
Okay.
But she was really excited when we found a Pikachu plushie for her, so we got her the Pikachu plushie. So, you know, she kind of sort of was in that, you know, I don't know.
Too many people. Yeah.
This one, on the other hand, Ember, who's 4.5, she kind of liked it. But she got really tired very quickly because there was just so much going on. Mm-hmm. And I think for a kid it can be really overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Just like, you know, you take them to a fair or something. It's very overwhelming. Yeah. So, yeah. So she grew a little tired pretty quick and then we had to go home. But they had fun. I think it was good. Just to see, like, this is what Mommy does. Like, Mommy works on these costumes and then I go to these conventions and this is what I do when I'm at the convention. So it was kind of neat for them to see that.
Okay. We shall see in the future when we start showing up. What are your future? Can you talk about what you're working on in the future, cosplay-wise?
Oh my gosh, I have a huge list of like to-do projects. I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's just like, you know, your friends talk about something cool and you're like, oh, I want to do that too, and they're like, great, come with us, do this with us, and then you suddenly form a group, and then you have deadlines, and it can get really crazy. Right now, I finished 2 costumes I still need to get pictures of. I've got 2 more in the works that I've like started. I'm probably like 30% through. Mm-hmm. And then I have fabric enough for another 3 or 4 costumes that I haven't started yet. But it's just been like collecting pieces.
Do you when you go to conventions, do you, like, I know some cosplayers, they premiere 1 new outfit, 2 new outfits maybe per convention. Do you do something like that? Where you...
I try to make costumes to premiere at conventions.
Okay, so, and what is like your convention list that you go to? Like you know.
Well, in a good year, if I had everything put together, it would start and end with IkiCon in Texas, because it's, you know, and the New Year one.
It's the New Year, yeah.
And then Anime Boston after that, and that's in Boston. And then after that, probably A-Con, because that's right here in Dallas, so it's really close. UshiCon in there, that's like right at the beginning of the year. It's usually in February, so that one too. And then DragonCon towards the end of the year. So about 5.
So about 5-ish?
Yeah, 5-ish, maybe 6 if I find another small one that's around.
Do you actually go to some of the smaller conventions to test run outfits before a bigger convention? Because I know some do that. Just curious.
I haven't had that opportunity yet, but you know, I might do that. If I felt like something was very fragile, and I didn't want it in a big crowd scene, then for sure I would take it to a small convention just to see how people react to it, and does it get stepped on, and, you know, can I move really well in it? Because a lot of times, you know, especially having a dress form, you don't put on a costume in full until you're ready to wear it. So you don't often get the opportunity to try it all on, put on all your makeup, and just walk around in it, you know? Right. So you have to really gauge all of that. One of my most fun moments is trying to get my brother and sister involved in it. My sister is not really into the anime scene at all. Okay. Like, nope. And I tried to get her to dress up as a character, and she sort of enjoyed it, and then was like, I am never doing this again. And then probably a year later, I got her to dress up again, and that's when she really said, I'm never doing this again. My brother, on the other hand, had never dressed up before. He's always gone to anime conventions. He usually does the panels, so he's not usually out and about. He usually likes to sit in a room and learn about things.
Right.
And so I got him to dress up one year. And I was like, you just have to do it just once. Because even though our sister complains about it, and I really like it, you have to do it for yourself just once, just to experience what it's like. So I made him a costume, he dressed up, and he loved it. He was like, this is so cool, why didn't I do this sooner? So it's just totally, you know, and it wasn't that we were dressed up from a very, it wasn't like a very, it's Tiny Snow Fairy Sugar, so it's not really a well-known anime, but we were the three main fairies, and people knew his character right away if they had seen the show, because he wears orange, and he's very bright and, you know, fun. They were like, oh, and they were like freaked out over his character, and I think he really enjoyed that aspect. It's like being a famous superstar for a day, or 3 days, you know, depending on how many costumes you have, but it's just really cool.
Is he still in it?
He's still in it, yeah. He actually wants me to make him Len from Vocaloids, so one of the blonde characters.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. And I'm also working on a top secret costume for him that he doesn't know about yet, from one video game series that we used to play together years and years ago. And I was like, you have to be this character. So he doesn't know too much about that one, but that's coming down the pipe for him.
So does he live here in Texas?
He does not. No, he lives in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Oh, so then for you, going to AB is really a chance to hang out with your family.
Home. Yeah, exactly. I get to see my parents and my brother and sister, and yeah, my grandma.
Right. You can put her. You can
now you want to come in that?
That's fine. Okay, so what we were talking before was actually we had any stories and so forth. Yeah. So besides that, any other interesting funny stories
yeah,
or
this is pretty funny. You know, wardrobe malfunctions. Everybody's had one. So I was walking down the hall at Anime Boston, 2008, and it was I didn't have my chocobo with me. He was in the hotel room. But I was walking down the con in the costume that I created as the Chocobo Rider's costume, and I had made it just after I had Ember. So I must have made it with a lot of baby weight still on, and it was the first time I wore it all together, and it had a skirt on it that didn't have any elastic. It was just on with a button, and I'm walking down the hall, and the next thing I know, the skirt's down by my ankles, and I was like, oh, no. Oops. I was like, well, that's pretty embarrassing. Luckily I had leggings on underneath, so thank God for leggings. But still, I was like, and there goes my skirt, right on the floor. So I had to pull that up, and then I had to get safety pins, and yeah, it was pretty embarrassing.
So when you go to cons now, you probably have an emergency repair kit with you at all times.
Now, yep.
What is in your cosplay emergency repair kit?
I usually take all bobbins of the thread that I've used to make the costume. So if it's a costume that has reds and pinks, I'll take only red and pink bobbins. A couple spare needles, safety pins, Velcro, and that way I can just sew Velcro on real quick in case something needs to be Velcroed on. Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
For sure, yep. I've cried over costumes because they didn't come out right, and usually I'll cut myself when I'm using the seam ripper because it's real sharp, and I maybe aren't holding it the right way because I get really angry that I've made a mistake and I have to rip up all that hard work, that hour of sewing. I've got to tear it back up, and I'll get cuts on my fingers. I've had needles break, and just, it's been crazy. Definitely crazy. But yeah, definitely blood, sweat, and tears. 100%. Everything goes into a costume. I
think in the future I'm going to start asking people stories like sewing stories. I think
stories.
That might be interesting too. Besides con stories, because everybody has con stories, but sewing stories, because it's always amazing to me what people go through to actually create something, you know, and I can't do that myself. I don't have skills like that, you know.
Sometimes it can be as easy as, you know, looking at shapes of objects and trying to mimic that shape. So what in real life can I do that would mimic a shape? That way I don't have to create that shape by myself. You know, they have foam, and I've seen people that go out and buy kid hats that have like animal things on them and take off the animal stuff and spray paint it, and then that becomes the armor on your shoulder. It's just, it's incredible. Like, if you can break it down to shapes, like, you can do anything. Just like with drawing. People say, you know, if you're drawing, break it down to shapes, then you can draw anything.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And final question I have to ask. Okay, so, you know, on my Facebook, I have people always have questions, or there's always comments and stuff. And I remember one time somebody said something, I think it was on my Tumblr about they felt that they were too old to cosplay, and that person was I think 24.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so
That's young.
do you feel that you would ever stop doing this? Like,
I don't think so. I mean, as long as there are still characters that I'm passionate about and that I want to become for a few days or a few hours, like, I don't think I'll ever stop. Maybe when I'm really, really old, but even then, like, I may have characters that I still want to do, you know? I don't know. I'm lucky that I look younger than I am, so I feel like that sort of gives me an edge, and I can still be in the scene and, you know, dress as these really younger characters and bring them to life.